What's up? What's up, y'all? We trying something new, making this stuff happen, work for y'all.
More from. We know of all the learning and all the stuff that the Afrocentric movement comes from, all of the stuff that moves from. But some of the esoteric traditions, basically when you go in those new age stores, all that stuff that they got in new age stores is nothing but just all of the stuff that they basically conserve from the Moorish science of all of the stuff. You see all that stuff they all that stuff, all that is nothing more science and not trying to fake as being white in these so-called bookstores or what they call a cult bookstore. That's all that stuff is. Just put a new name on it, and you thinking it's some white people shit. So your tarot card, the tarot, that was introduced by the Moors. From the tarot card, you get the playing card by the Moors. You see what I'm saying? All your divination systems, they got little stuff they threw around little stones called runes. Introduced by the Moors. The crystal ball. Real stuff. It works. Divination. Introduced by the Moors. Your incense, frankincense and myrrh, all that introduced by the Moors. Gunpowder. You thought it was China. It got its root in alchemy. It has its root in alchemy going back to chemistry of the study of metals in and out the body. Also introduced by the Moors as well as the fire stick, which later on was a gun that they didn't have no use for. Introduced by Moors. Spiritual music. The word music comes from the word muse. Well, based on their nature. You know, they didn't conceive of this thing as being a weapon or something they want to kill people with. I guess they think, white boy picked it up after them and used it. All we know is they invented the gun, the fire stick, and didn't use it. And didn't use it.
Now, was the Honorable Bobby Hemmit correct about what he said about, about gunpowder being founded by the Moors, and they really didn't have no use for it and stuff like that, the gunpowder, which made the firing stick, and they really had no use for it, so they just put it down because of their nature. It was in the Africans, the Moors, the African nature, not to, really use guns like that. Was the Honorable Bobby Hemmit correct? He's still alive today. I'm going to read something from the Journal of the Royal African Society called Guns. This is by M.D.W. Jeffries, the Journal of Royal African Society, volume 43, number 170, January 1944, pages 25 through 27. This is published by the Oxford Press on behalf of the Royal African Society. So we don't get into this. As you see, it costs money to read this shit. That's $42. You know what I'm saying? So it costs money to read this stuff, what you want to see. Guns. WMD MDW Jeffries, MA PhD. The Guns. Thank God, the Guns, penned by the Empire's uncrowned poet about Africa, remind us that after three and a half weary years of bloody war, their sound is no longer heard therein. Guns have reached their highest development under the savagery, not of Africa, but of civilization, yet the savagery of Africa was using guns long before the deep-mouthed, heavy-bloom echoes across the battlefields of Europe. Firearms are said to have been first used in European warfare in the 14th century. But if Arab chronicles are consulted, it will be found that guns were used in southern Sudan in the 12th century. Describing the wars between the Balala and the Safwa in the territory lying east of Lake Chad, which began in 1169 AD, the Arab Chronicle writes that after having been subdued by the Balala, these were called upon to pay tribute and refused to do so. So they refused to pay and sought out a man named Musa in his town of Nami Kanawana. He came to their assistance with his armory of 50 guns. That was the cause of their refusal to pay. So war began again, and a furious battle took place in which 3,000 fell of the Bulala and the men of Abu al-Din. After this battle, they all scattered. The deadly nature of this new weapon is reflected in casualties and the fact that both sides broke off the engagements, which remained inconclusive. To this day, such weapons were unknown in England. In 1181, Henry II of England ordered that every man should either carry a sword or a bow, which he is not able to sell but leave to his heir. After the siege of Telefet by the Arabs in 1274, mention is made of fire engines which throw out gravel. The shot, it is said, was forced from pieces by means of burning powder, for which the singular properties work effects that rival the power of the creator. No guns mentioned in Africa is known to me in the 14th century, but in the beginning of the 15th century, they appear in Kano. In his Duda 2015, Sakar Nakano, 1421 to 1438 time, Dushinin, a great prince, came from the South Borno with many men and mountsmen. He brought with him horse drums, trumpet, flags, and guns. Although gunpowder was being made and exported in England in 1411, yet the first mention of a musket there is in 1471. And even there, it was a rare weapon. So, kind of is backing up what he's saying. That, you know what I'm saying? But let's go a little bit more further in this, you know what I'm saying? But this is just one good reference you can use about guns in Africa before then. This right here is a picture of Lady Lugard. Now, many people don't know Lady Lugard, but she's one of the foremost historians on West African history. You know what I'm saying? She was the one that penned the quagmire that's known today as Nigeria. She was the husband of the over-counsel. I can't think of his name. He got a pretty good book, too. I haven't finished reading yet. But her book we're going to go into is called Tropical Dependency. This is still one of the foremost authorities on West African culture before colonialization of Europe, France, and all type of places like that. So even though she's a staunch brutalist imperialist, she got many stuff about West Africa, about Africa in general, that's not really talked about today. Yeah, we gonna tap into some of that stuff, you know what I'm saying? So because we gotta get the sheets up off that. We gotta let our people know. Now this is from Lady Lugard's book, Tropical Dependency. I highly advise every Pan-Africanist to get this book. This is a very, 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 like I said, thorough book written by a white woman who coined the term Nigeria, Lady Lugard. Thus beginning in the 12th century, after a long period of African domination in Spain, and a reaction of Europe upon Africa, which has continued to the present day. This expulsion of Christians from Granada may be taken as the first great religious expulsion from which Spain has become famous in later years. It is also to remember that this system was initiated by the Moors, and perhaps worth noting that it is celebrated Averroes, one of the famous and most named associates with the Enlightenment, which Arab civilization spread through the Dark Ages of medieval Europe. During medieval Europe was so warm and advocate of measure that they took the trouble to cross from the Spanish court to the court of Morocco for the purpose of urging his views upon the Sultan. He appears to have spent a considerable amount of his life at the court of Morocco, which at that time was a learning center. He died there in 1198, and according to his death, Morocco is mentioned as the capital of Adountain. Adouatein. The mere existence of this geographical expression is used and said have been the Arabs to signify two kingdoms of Spain and Africa. Show how closely the interests of the two countries have become bonded together. In the connection of the residents to learn Averroes at the court of Al-Mansur in Africa, and if you want to learn if you want to learn more about Al-Mansur, I took from J. Rogers, the world's greatest man of color. He is in there. There's a video on my video page explaining who he was and what he done. We're going to go a little bit more deeper into it. It may be worth mentioning that the praises of the same sovereign was sung at the court in Seville by a learned and celebrated poet of Black Soudan, Abu Abrak Ahim Al-Kamin. This circumstance, though slight and interesting, is severe, showing how by the end of the 12th century, Niggerland contributed not only to commercial wares, but also to the quote of arts and stores of Europe. Niggerland being Nigeria, you know what I'm saying, Nigeria, Senegal, that area. From the beginning of the 13th century onward, the decay of Muslim power in Spain is marked. The Christian powers made constant and successful onslaughts upon Alaravi possessions. Town after town fell in importance into their hands. They were assisted by internal divisions among the Muslims. And in 1230, nearly a century of brilliant rule, the Almoravid dynasty came to an end by a disposition of the reigning sovereign. The Muslim portion of the continent declared itself independent under Ibn Hud, also a leader of African origin. Valencia fell in Christian hands in 1238, Cordova in 1239, Seville in 1260. A little later, a whole of the Muslim population was driven to the coast between Rwanda in the west and Aramida in the east. In Africa, the province Africa was stretched at one point in the confines of Egypt to those of Morocco. At the same time, declared independence under the Sultan of the Hashid dynasty. In 1269, the Minorites possessed themselves the throne of Morocco and its surrounding provinces, and fixed their capital at Fez. When nothing was left to the Almoravids but Tafit was a small part of Afrique, they returned to their stronghold of Tamil, but maintained for only a few years a phantom caliphate. Akas, the last of his race, whom, when the successful siege of Talafet in 1274 had given all the remaining Morocco soil to the Minorites, was brought before the ruling sovereign of that dynasty and executed. It is interesting to note that at this siege of Talafet, which put an end to such an empty pretense as still remaining of the dual empire of Spain and Africa, mention is made of use of firearms or fire engines with throughout iron gravel. The shot, it said, was the force from the piece by means of burning power, of which the singular properties worked effects that rival the power of the creator. So that's one battle in Africa. You know what I'm saying? 1274. The siege of Talafet. So that's one battle. Way before the European even knew what a gun was. Probably way before the European really even knew what a shower was and all that other stuff like that. But let's go more into this kingdom of Ala-Dontane. Once again, I'm citing Lady Lugard, because if you look this stuff up, it's kind of hard to find this stuff. You got to look deep. And you got to read old books to find this. You know what I'm saying? Like Paul Mooney said on a sidebar note, you know what I'm saying? A new broom clean your floor, but the old broom can get all the deep in the corners and the cracks and stuff like that. And that's what we're doing on this African history tip. You know what I'm saying? Going deeper to the corners, the cracks. This, once again, is from Lady Lugard, The Empire Two Shores. Once again, I highly advise people to get this book, Tropical Dependency. You know what I'm saying? Because they talk about a lot of stuff that that's mind-blowing. Other things brought by the Empire Two Shores, all right? Almoravid moved and said it was consideration that he cannot afford any hostile powers close to the border of Spain as Western Africa. Subdue also a great portion of Africa. He thus established power in the Western Caliphate from the borders of Negroland to the Pyrenees. And this double kingdom was known by the name of Alatane, or the Two Shores. In the course of all the wars he suffered with one serious defeat, and he had the surname of the Victorious. Never, he said, was the Mohammedan Empire more prosperous during his reign. Commerce and agriculture flourished. The science and the arts received new impulses, and the revenue increased tenfold. It was under this Al-Mansur that cotton manufacture was first established in Europe in the year 930. So we're bringing cotton, all right? We're bringing cotton in Europe. You know what I'm saying? The Arabs also introduced the art of printing calicos from wooden blocks. Let me read this one more time. The Arabs also introduced the art of printing calicos from wooden blocks. What is that? That is a printing press. You understand me? So we already had invented the printing press. You know, this is a good book to cite from. We already had that, and you know what I'm saying? We already invented that. It's already done. But this is what happens when you get yanked out your history. You know, the first thing the impress got to take from you, what she goes later, I'm not going to show in this book, what she shows later on in the book, when the Christian army came down from Spain and stuff like that, you know what I'm saying? The first thing they touched when they conquered a Muslim city you know, an African city in Spain, the first thing they touched was the library. So they burnt all this stuff. That's the first thing getting burnt down. You know what I'm saying? But luckily, and she explains it in the book, what happened, how we got this information passed down to us. You know what I'm saying? But so that answers your question, yes, Honorable Bobby Hemmit was correct. I showed two sources, one from the African Society and one from Lady Lugard, and I can show a lot more than that. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, we had invented gunpowder. We just didn't use it like that. It was in our nature. After we seen the destruction of 3,000 dead, we was like, damn, you know what I'm saying? That's, even though we got beef with these cats, these still our brothers, you know what I'm saying? We can squash this out on some other stuff. And this is also shown, therefore, in many, many, many times in African history. You can just look at Hannibal. Hannibal could have crushed Rome, you know. Just like chess or Senate was an African game. You know, for those who ever played Senate or chess, you know what I'm saying, the concept is kind of still the same. You know, you don't really kill the king. You just make sure the king can't move and know he in check, and then he just set the feet. That shows also when, like I said, Hannibal with Rome. It also shows with one of the Kansases in which they fought Augusta, and when they, you know what I'm saying, took back parts of Nubia and parts of South, and you know what I'm saying, and parts of Egypt when they fought against Augusta. And it also shows in Roots, in the beginning of Roots, when Kunta Kinte was trying to become a man and stuff like that. And they asked him, you know, you got your enemy surrounded on three sides. What do you do? And remember when the kids stepped up and said, we crush him. You know what I'm saying? We crush him right then and there. And the elder checked him for that. You know, if you really pay attention to that movie in Roots in the beginning, you know what I'm saying? The elder checked the cold shit out of him for that. Like, you know, no, because if you do that, you kill the king, his son now becomes your enemy. So you give the king an escape route, and that way when he escaped off the battlefield is a sign in our culture of admitting to defeat. But the European is a whole new different monster on that type of stuff. Anywho, this is a Iskosi Umfundisi. Much love. Hopefully y'all learned something. You know what I'm saying? Thank you for watching. And I'm going to leave the references in the box for this. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. Stay in the present moment. Peace.